Welcome to Tip Off today. The band decided to take the day off. Oh, wait a sec. We got all sorts of problems. I don't have time today to screw with this. Let's see if we can just start this whole show over again. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Tip Off. The band decided to take the whole day off. I could reset the whole thing, but then I got to delay it another 5 minutes, and so it's not going to work. I had it all planned. Dante Exum, block shot of Chris Paul, lob to Rudy Gobert, slam dunk highlight, followed by Derek Favors reminding us to play with a purpose, followed by me going, bum, pow. None of that happening. So we'll just dig into the show right away. Jazz and the Cavaliers tonight. LeBron is in town, which is really, there's nothing quite like it. Cleveland looked awful last night. We'll talk about that coming up in our Jazz portion of the show. For those who are new to this, I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. I'd love to tell you that we're not always that disorganized to start, but we kind of are. That's kind of what we do. We hang out. We talk NBA. We have a cup of coffee together or hot chocolate, or whatever it is you have, and we talk a little NBA every morning. And we do this for sometimes between 15 and 30 minutes, and since I'm crazy busy today, it'll probably be closer to 15 minutes. So anyway, that's the plan for the day. I want to thank everybody who's participated. We have a broadcast number this year, 801-237-38, in which you can call into the broadcast line, leave a question for our players, or you can leave a question for Ron Boone that we've been taking on every broadcast. You can still do that at 801-200-3738. And a bunch of the people who did that got a little surprised last night when they got an email offering them tickets to go see LeBron. A few of them even got a bigger surprise when I accidentally gave them the wrong tickets. And they ended up in my seats. Oops. But I'm not taking that back. So they got good ones. 801-200-3738. I can't promise you're getting LeBron tickets in the future, but we try to take care of you if you participate with us. All right, let's hit the NBA 5. Houston Rockets had another double-digit win last night, did not allow 100 points again, scored over 100 points again. I watched a lot of that Rockets-Miami game. I was intrigued by it. The Chris Bosh-Dwight Howard matchup was really fascinating. And Houston just making plays. Trevor Ariza, I like Chandler Parsons is fine, and so this isn't an insult on Chandler Parsons, but Ariza may be a much better fit for that team. He's much more interested in playing defense and making plays on the defensive end and doing the things that need to be done for them to win basketball games than maybe Parsons, who's more interested in scoring and kind of still proving his worth inside the NBA. But Ariza seems to be changing who they are. They were without Terrence Jones, so Montezumas stepped in. Harden's just a beast. I mean, they have one of the most efficient players in the NBA touching the ball. Dwight looks good. Bosh versus Dwight was fascinating. Bosh caused him a lot of problems. Dwight, they're so different. They've caused him problems on the other side. I actually thought Miami looked all right. Dwayne Wade took some really ill-advised shots out of the offense at times. But otherwise, Houston, I just look good. And, you know, when you look at the Western Conference and you say, okay, well, we got 3 teams that are better than everybody, but now Oklahoma City's out of that. And we'll touch on them in a second. So you've got L.A. Clippers, who don't look right yet, but I wouldn't worry about it, and San Antonio, and then Golden State's knocking on the door. Memphis looks good so far, and the Rockets really look good. I don't know if I want to throw the Rockets up in that upper group quite yet, but it is all shifted a little bit without Oklahoma City in there. And Oklahoma City, I watched a tiny bit of them. It's hard to watch. The worst case scenario is upon us with Oklahoma City. They just can't score, and they're going to really, really struggle to win games. It's all neat to have all this other stuff, but it's hard to play when you can't score. Ask Charlotte. Charlotte's 1-3. They went and have 3 highly inefficient players. Al Jefferson is their most efficient of their 3 players right now, and Lance Stevenson, Kemba Walker, and Al Jefferson. It's a hard way for them to work, and the Stevenson thing's not going to work. He played 23 minutes last night. I think he was 1 of 7. He's not ready to play only 23 minutes. He signed that deal in Charlotte to get out from under Paul George to go be the man. He's not the man there. That's going to be a disaster, and it's too bad because Charlotte's all hyped up with their Hornets and the rest of things, but it doesn't look good. But it's going to be curious to watch this kind of second tier. Golden State looks great so far. Memphis looks great so far. And Houston looks just fabulous so far. Oklahoma City probably is not going to make the playoffs. So is it New Orleans? Is it Sacramento? Is it Phoenix? Who's going to get in? I am on the end of this now, believing that Oklahoma City is more than likely not going to make the playoffs. If Durant comes back in middle of December and Westbrook comes back in middle of December, they're going to miss 20, 22, 23, 24, 25 games. They're going to be 5-20. They're terrible. At some point you got to have talent. They don't have any. I mean, Serge Ibaka's nice, and you're asking, and Reggie Jackson's okay. And if you're that level, your margin of error is such that to make the playoffs, you've got to be perfect. And that's why I'm going to just say that understand kind of the mathematics I'm saying here. They're more than likely not going to make the playoffs. In other words, something else is likely to go wrong at some point in time, and they don't have the luxury to have Ibaka go miss 7 games and have them go 3-4 at any point the rest of the way with these injuries. So I think Oklahoma City misses it, gets a lottery pick. Unbelievable. And so there's a new playoff team, which is going to be New Orleans, Phoenix, or Sacramento. It has to be talked about with the way they've started the year. Chicago, I watched them last night in their win over Orlando. They were playing without Rose, without Noah. They still got the win. You know what? There's something to be said, though. They got too many bigs. The Miracek kid is good. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize if I'm not. I didn't pull up my pronunciation guide today. He's good. He's playing from the outside, stretch 4. He and Taj Gibson were a neat mix last night. Pau Gasol came in late, got bogarted a little bit by Vucevic. Vucevic is really good. Anybody who put any comparison to Nikola Vucevic to Enes Kanter has never watched Vucevic play. There's nothing similar, comparable about them at all. Vucevic is taller. He's more agile. He's got more options offensively. There's nothing comparable about them in any way, shape, or form to people who were talking about that comparison. There's just one of them's a bona fide, solid, starting top 5-10 center in the NBA. Orlando's point guard, Elfrid Payton's interesting. 7 assists, 6 rebounds, does a lot of stuff. He's averaging like 5 rebounds, 7 assists so far. The only one that's unnerving is he has not taken a 3 yet in 4 games, and he's only shooting 31%. Like, if you're not going to shoot a 3, you got to be Tony Parker, who shoots 45 to 50%. This kid hasn't taken a 3 yet. I flipped on a little bit of Milwaukee, Indiana. That was hard to watch. I'm surprised. Jabari, you guys know, I think, if you follow this, I'm not a huge Jabari guy. Like, I kind of have been willing to admit, like, I'm not a huge. I don't love him. I kind of feel the same way I do about him and when I felt about McFadden. When everyone was in love with McFadden coming out of, where was it, Alabama or Arkansas, wherever it was, and I was like, I don't really see it. Like, I see the burst and the skill, but I don't see it. I don't see it dominating in the NBA. And I've been worried about Jabari this whole time. I mean, I think he's gonna be really good. I think he's gonna be Glenn Robinson, which is really good. That's 27 points a game. He's gonna score 20 in this game, but he's not a talent that's so obvious when you watch the game. You kind of got to find him. Whereas you think about those other great players who were of that ilk, you go find him. In fact, when you watch Minnesota, Andrew Wiggins scuffling too, but I feel like his talent bounds off the screen. Jabari last night, 5 of 12, no free throw attempts. They're not playing very well when he's on the floor, which is maybe not surprising. Like, that one I'm not going to go get all worried about just because it's early. I don't love the fact that he's shooting 37%, and I don't love the fact that he's taken 60 shots this year and or 50 shots this year and taken 6 free throws. I think that's right. I might be a little off on that. I think it's 6 free throws and about 50 shots, or maybe it's 5. I don't think it's 5 and 60. I think it's 6 and 50 or somewhere in that range. I'm rounding one of those numbers up, but 1 free throw attempt for every 10 shot attempts or so is a little off where I would have liked to see Jabari. I'm not surprised, as I said, last night they win by, I think, 6, and he's -3 or -4 in the game. I don't know how it finished. I'm not surprised by that. That's just being a rookie on the floor. You would here's what you don't love. When Jabari's on the floor, the offense is an 89.4 per 100 possessions. When he's off the floor, it's a 109.9. Okay. Now, interestingly, he's playing with Larry Sanders a good deal of time, so the defense when he's on the floor is really good, and maybe it's Larry Sanders that's impacting the offense that badly, right? Like, that's part of that starting lineup for Milwaukee right now can't score, but they defend great. That is your NBA. Oh, wait a sec. By the way, 39 points for 37 shots is not a good night with 1 assist. Do you realize how impossible it is to take 37 shots and have 1 assist? I'd like everyone to chew on that. I mean, it just takes 1 double team, you flare it off to somebody else, they get an assist. 1 assist in 37 shot attempts. That's hard work. That is your NBA 5. All right, Jazz and the Cavaliers tonight. Let's zero in on the Jazz for a quick second. Trey's not shooting the ball great, but some of the numbers on Trey look good, actually. I love looking last night and finding that his shooting inside 10 feet is considerably up from a year ago. Last year, Trey shot 45% from inside 10 feet. That's really disconcerting. He's up at 53% right now. Okay, that's good. He's shooting 14% on catch and shoots. That's not going to last. Right? There's no way that's going to last. He's not shooting 14% on catch and shoots this year. That's a statistical anomaly. Now, on one argument you could say is, well, why are you taking one as a statistical anomaly and one is fair enough? Maybe his 54% is going to regress, but if you watch Trey play right now, he looks like he's a different player in around the rim and how he's doing things, and he can't hit water if he fell out of a boat with a shot. His shot's not, he comes out of Michigan known as a shooter. I would agree for those who are saying, well, he's not a great shooter. Okay, I think that's probably some truth to whether or not he's a great shooter or not. His numbers last year were low, but one of the reasons he shot 39% last year was the fact that he couldn't score inside 10 feet. If he can suddenly start scoring inside 10 feet and at a 56, 57% rate this year, then that's only going to increase a little bit more the next year. That's just, part of understanding the game, figuring it out. And he's not going to be a catch and shoot guy. I mean, last year his catch and shoot was an effective field goal percentage of 51%. He was 35% on three-pointers catch and shoot. That's not bad. He was 36 overall. Okay, that's really not bad. Off the dribble three last year, he was just 25%. That's not great. But the 35% catch and shoot for Trey last year on three-pointers is pretty good. This year he's at 14%. Okay, that's not going to last. That's just not going to last. He's missed all of his pull-ups too. Like he's just, come on, like 14% catch and shoot threes. Is this not going to continue? So when you look at Trey right now, I actually see, kind of digging a step deeper, I see some things that to me say, all right, there's actually some good things happening here in the missing. Now, how does he deal with the struggle and things like that? He shot 38% last year. Is he ever going to shoot better than 42, 43? Maybe not. Maybe he's not going to be a high percentage shooter. His effective field goal percentage would probably be a lot more interesting to me in how he does things. Last year, his effective field goal percentage, this year it's at 35%. Is that all right? No, the league average is at 50% on effective field goal percentage. Whereas, when you look at him last year, he's at 44.2. Okay, well, let's see if we can get that up to 49, 50%. Then he's right on league average, and he probably can do a lot of other things for you. Remember, he was a much better home player than road player last year, and that might be a little bit too. Last year's effective field goal percentage at home was 46 and road was 42. Interesting little statistical thing to keep an eye on. I'm not going to tell you to go bank a lot on these things early in the year. The offense with Joe Ingles on the floor is very, very good. I find that at least a little interesting. You can see it. That's why I looked it up. A lot of these stats you hear me say are things I went and I looked up for a reason. One of the reasons I looked it up is he moves the ball very well. He seems to relieve the ball handling pressure on the guard. He does a lot of really kind of cool things. and it's showing up that when he's on the floor, the offense of the Utah Jazz is considerably better. One that's obvious to everyone also is that when Trevor Booker checks in for Enes Kanter right now, things are considerably better. Pretty interesting, actually, unnaturally better. Trevor Booker's start is non-replicable for an extended portion of the season. But the starting lineup of the Jazz right now is scuffling. That five-man group is being outscored by 12 points per 100 possessions. Their defensive rating is 121.6. The minute you bring Trevor Booker in, the defensive rating goes down to 105.6 from 121, and the offensive rating goes from 109, which is really good, to 133, which is non-replicable. It's not sustainable. But really the pace picks up too, which is interesting. But just keep an eye on that a little bit. The other lineup that actually is doing well right now is when Rodney Hood comes in for Alec Burks in that second group with Trevor Booker. So the first substitution of the night's been very successful, and the second substitution of the night, Hood stretching the floor a little bit more to play with Booker and Favors, has been very, very good as well. Now, it's only played 10 minutes, so that's a sample size that's pretty limited. And frankly, when I delved into it, even the Booker lineup can be a little suspect when you only have 4 games worth of sample size, because you can start looking at some of their in-game matchups and who they played and those kind of things, and you'll find out that hard for them to keep it all together right now. But right now it looks. Let's hope that'd be a nice little find, I guess, is what if that can be sustained. All right, Cleveland looked terrible last night. LeBron looked off last night. I would assume that we're just going to get a missile from Ohio in LeBron tonight. And his lack of aggressiveness early, he scores no points in the second half. He scored 11 points for the entire game. It's the 16th lowest point output that he's ever had in his NBA career. I'm assuming that he is just going to come at the Jazz with a level of pizzazz that it's going to be awesome, and the Jazz are going to have to be able to handle it. It's only the 16th time his career scored 11 or more. I mean, the Cavaliers, by the way, were down 5 with 47 seconds to go in the fourth quarter versus the Bulls before winning in OT. So, I mean, they really are a moment away from being 0-3, and they don't look right. The David Blatt brings that European system. You expect this ball movement and all this activity. There's none of that. The one that jumped out to me more is every time LeBron makes a pass, he stands still as though he has no thought he's getting the ball back. Then there were these weird plays last night where LeBron goes for a steal, gets to midcourt, and never comes back into the play. He just was not engaged last night. There was a great tweet last night. I was trying to figure out a way to say it on Twitter. We're all trying to be careful because nobody wants to count the Cavaliers out. No one's that silly, and no one wants to kind of, count LeBron out. We're all smarter than that. But somebody I thought said it really, really well last night when the tweet. I think I retweeted it. Is LeBron's putting out a preseason-esque performance. Brian Windhurst said it, and then Alex Kennedy went a little further. He said LeBron's effort is somewhat concerning. He's the dude who's texting while playing NBA 2K15 and barely looking up. Like, that's really what he looked like last night. He was pretty disengaged, and the last time he scored 11 points was in a game was 2008, December 5th, 2008. So and there's no crispness to what they're doing. They're not their defense is non-existent, but we knew that about Cleveland. LeBron's quote after the game was pretty interesting. There's been a lot of losing basketball around here for a few years. We have to move the ball. We've got to be a team. I'm trying to do other things. I'm trying to install what it takes to win. My mission isn't a one-game thing. That's got to be right at Kyrie and Dion Waiters, right? I mean, Kevin Love's not a part of that culture. Anderson Varejao doesn't seem to be that cultural guy. I mean, that's it. When he's talking about the things that happened before and there's a lot of losing, that's got to be a shot a little bit at Kyrie for the way they're playing. I would say this, and I got to be a little careful with this one because this is an observation, not a fact. Watching Love and Kyrie, and I've always felt this way last night and about, they don't seem, and this is what you got to worry about for our guys too. So this is a big one. They don't seem to understand what you got to do to win. Like the intensity and the consistency of the effort to get through every possession to win is very different than just to play well. Those are two totally different things. These are two guys who've been perfectly, I think, content on playing well and putting out the effort that means to play well. So that's when the ball's in your hands, you do it. When you need to, you do it. You take over a few times, you make a few, and you play well. But to win, there's a totally different level. After you make the pass, you make a sharp cut. You set the back pick. You rotate correctly. Those are winning things. And I don't see Kyrie Irving or Kevin Love doing either of those. And so then I saw LeBron stop doing them last night. So I don't know. I think it's very curious to watch. It's obviously going to be the number one storyline in the NBA, and it's coming to the house. It's coming to our house tonight, and that's just terrific. All right, let me grab a few questions if there are any, and then I got to jump. I got lots of items to take care of before I leave for shoot around today. You don't want to miss this one. Utah's offense has been excellent, but they're not playing as fast as I expected. 19th in pace. Is that something the coaching staff is worried about? Good question, Andrew. I think they would like him to play faster. More specifically, I think what they would really like is to see rebounds and outlet passes rather than rebounds and dribble up the floor. Both, Gordon and Dante throw it up ahead. Trey and Alec dribble it up. And I'm not sure that's, just keep an eye on that. And I'm not trying to zero in on those two guys. I just think it's their instinct of how they do things. The new NBA stats page has great tracking stuff to look at with the Jazz. The problem, by the way, is that, and I was talking to John Schumann, who's just brilliant about this, or I think I sent him this message, is there's not enough information right now to know what league averages are. But let me compare in 4 games the way they break down the Jazz. Andrew, this is a good question. So I was going to do this at some point, so I might as well do it now for everybody to see. So the way they break down the shot clock it's a little differently than they have in the past. They break it down in 3-second increments, which I think is it's a bit much. I've been trying to do a study on this where I think there's actually a better way to look at it than what they're doing. They have first 2 seconds of the shot clock broken down. They have something called very early, and then they have early. All of those things happen in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. And I actually think there should be 3 breaks here. There should be the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. Then there's the middle of the shot clock, 15 to 7. And then anything in the last 7 seconds of the shot clock is usually pretty darn inefficient. So right now, the Jazz, if we broke it up in that fashion, because that's the way I like to look at things, the Jazz are using 30% of their possessions in the first 10 seconds, 42% of their possessions in the average area, and then they're fighting the clock on 25% of their possessions, and in fact, they're fighting the clock on 12% of their possessions in the very end. Let's contrast that to a year ago, which we all thought was, really horrifically common late in the shot clock, and it was. We played more possessions in the final 12 seconds of the shot clock than any team in the NBA. Last year, in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock, we played, and I'm doing some quick math here live on the air, which is never good. 19 plus 6.5 is 25.5. So this year we're playing 30% of our possessions in the first 10 seconds. Last year we were at 25.5. The middle range, last year we played 44% of our possessions between 7 and 15 on the clock. We're at 42 right now. And we played 22% of our possessions in the final 7 seconds of the shot clock last year, and this year, interestingly enough, we're at 25. So we're actually getting a little more early, about 5% of our possessions more early, but we're also getting that adds up wrong, I think. They have more non-captured last year. That's why. We were getting more late in the shot clock as well. So our late in the shot clock last year was 22%, and this year it's 25%. And that's, I think, where you're feeling that we're and we're getting into late in the shot clock, final 4 seconds of the shot clock, 12% of the time this year, and last year we were only in at 8.6. So we're definitely getting deeper into a clock this year than I think the coaching staff would probably prefer to have. Andrew, good question. That was on my list of things to do. I appreciate you asking it so I could do it on the show. That wraps us up. Thanks so much. Enjoy LeBron tonight. We'll be back with you tomorrow on tip-off. Have a good one. There'll also be 2 guys on the 12 posted today in the midst of all of this. See you.